sing this song. So wrap me in plastic and make me shine. We can make a dollhouse, follow your design. Let's build a dog out of sticks and twine. I can call you master, you can call me mine.
I have permission from my guest to tell this story. Brace yourself. My guest got with this handsome, very wealthy man. The first year went pretty good. Then after a little while, she started noticing some changes from him. Coming home late, sometimes coming home at 5, 6 in the morning. She noticed her pH balance was off. He started locking his phone. He bought a safe and didn't give her the code for it. This one time she comes and I noticed green discharge, and I was concerned, and I told her, hey girl, I really think you should see the doctor because I see some abnormal things going on right now and I cannot diagnose you, but I really think you should go see the doctor.
So one of the most common questions I get from clients is, what is the grossest thing that's ever happened to you while you were waxing somebody? So here's a quick little story time for you guys. One day I was at work. I used to work for a corporate company, and I had a client come in, and she doesn't tell me that she's on her period, which is not a big deal. I wax people on their periods all the time. Just throw in a fresh tampon, plug it up, hop on the table. Not a big deal. But she doesn't tell me that she's on her period because she had the string tucked. So I'm waxing, we're laughing, we're talking, and then out of nowhere she sneezes, and then her tampon popped out.
I was 21 when I found out I was pregnant with twin girls. My sister is 28 and has had 14 miscarriages. She's only had one successful pregnancy, which resulted in my 4-year-old niece. I'm not against having kids, but I definitely wanted to wait until I graduated with my degree and I was married to my significant other. From the start, my mom has been saying I should give my babies to my sister since she deserves them more than I do. And my sister completely agrees. I told them hell no, and my mom calls me a selfish bitch. Throughout my pregnancy, my sister has been begging me to give her at least one baby since I'm having 2. The last time I saw her, we were having lunch and she started babbling about keeping one of my babies, so I paid for my meal and left and haven't seen any of them since then. After I have my girls, I log on to Facebook to hundreds of threatening messages from my family and friends about how I stole my sister's babies and ruined her life. She posted a picture of her nursery that she had for my babies. There's so many posts about how generous I am for going through the pregnancy and giving my sister the babies. She told everyone I was giving her my babies, and she has my pictures of them in the NICU saying how she can't wait to bring them home.
Story time about how I caught my best friend with my ex-boyfriend just a few weeks after we broke up. We became friends in middle school and were inseparable ever since. My boyfriend and I met when we were 20 and we were together for 3 years. I'm not a strong drinker, so whenever we would go out, I would usually be the DD. My best friend used this opportunity to get extremely wasted every time we went out. Every time she got drunk, she would be extremely flirty with my boyfriend. She would do things like touch his chest, lean on him, and want to be in every picture or video he took. I chalked it up to her being drunk and didn't think too much into it. Fast forward to when me and my ex finally broke up. My best friend encouraged me to break up with him and told me that I deserved better. Shortly after, I noticed that she was hiding things from me and not telling me where she was or who she was hanging out with. Whenever we kicked it, she was always on her phone nonstop, and when I looked over, she would hide her phone or turn it over. One day I looked over and I noticed my ex's name as the contact that she was texting. I let it go that night, and the next day I checked her Snap location. Her location was in my ex's neighborhood, so I texted her and asked her what she was up to. She tried to play it off by saying she was shopping with her mom. At this point, all I saw was red. I decided to grab my keys and go over to my ex's house.
I have many stories. So this story is about a client that I had. It was her very first time getting a Brazilian wax with me. At this time, I rented 2 rooms. I didn't have my own salon, so I had to keep my inventory in my room where I waxed. So I finished the session and then I stepped out, allowed her to dress herself, but she was taking way too long. I tried to go back in the room, but she locked me out of my own room. So I let myself in with my key and caught her stealing wax from me. I immediately said, hey, that's gonna cost you $30 plus the service. You're actually not allowed to open that. She goes, oh, I'm sorry, girl. Didn't know. No, she didn't know. She was stealing. I caught her right in the act. I charged her and I just blocked her off my system. Those are the type of people I don't ever want in my salon. So there was this couple that used to come together to get their waxes. Let's call Lady 1 Gina, Lady 2 Samantha. One day, Gina comes with a whole different check. She's like, check this out, Yanni. This is my side check. I need you to wax her. I was shocked. 1, because I don't like cheating. 2, because I thought that Gina and Samantha were very in love. So Gina's just telling me that she's a little bored and she's just entertaining this other chick. She's nothing special to her. Then I get to wax the side chick, and she's telling me how infatuated she is with Gina, how special she feels with her. And the whole time in my mind, I am so sad for Samantha and for the new girl because she didn't know anything about Samantha. But I couldn't say a word. It's not my place. I hated the position that I was put in. I really, really did. But the next time I see... The first time I got a Brazilian wax was a pretty excruciating experience. I assumed because the person that was waxing me was a teacher, I thought she was pretty experienced in Brazilian waxes, but I was terribly wrong. She specialized in facials more than anything. So I undress, bottoms off. As soon as she looks at me, she goes, "Whoa, you're pretty hairy." I was a bit embarrassed and I couldn't believe she said that. Immediately, I felt so uncomfortable. So she preps my skin and applies a strip on my labia, and she looked pretty nervous.
My wedding was on September 21st, 2019. My cousin from my stepdad's side brought her boyfriend that she'd been seeing for about 6 months. And I've only seen him once before my wedding. We're all having a great time, and the next thing I know, my cousin's boyfriend asks the DJ for the mic and goes to the center of the dance floor saying he has a special announcement to make and calls my cousin over. So I rush over and say, "Nope, no one is getting engaged during my special day, especially during my reception. You can get engaged later tonight, but not right now. It's my day. Thank you for understanding." And I go to walk away. My aunt, which is my cousin's mom, starts yelling at me and calling me an entitled brat. It causes a huge fight and they all end up leaving. My stepdad's mom says I was wrong and told me to apologize and call them over and allow him to propose. Needless to say, it didn't happen. Flash forward to Christmas. It was terrible. My stepdad's entire side was there and they were rude and ignoring my husband and I the entire time. And of course, my newly engaged cousin announces her wedding date, which is September 21st, 2020. I'm beyond pissed and not planning to go. It's my 1-year wedding anniversary. My cousin says they chose to get married on their 1-year engagement anniversary. But I had a girlfriend in college who got pregnant at 19 and I was 20. I freaked out and wrongly blamed her for everything and said there was no way I wanted to be a dad. I signed over all my rights and I haven't seen her since. I'm now 30, but I had an accident a few years ago that has made it impossible for me to father any children. This was a hard blow to my wife, and our marriage has struggled as I'm not willing to adopt, but she wants children. So I contacted my ex about seeing them, and maybe my wife would be happy in a stepmom role. My ex said no, and when I protested, she basically told me tough luck. I said he was my kid, but she actually said he's not. I signed my rights away, so I have no children as far as the law is concerned. She says my kid has a real dad and a life, and I've never been a part of it and never will be. I was so angry, and I started yelling about taking her to court for custody, and she laughed at me and said good luck. I was venting to my brother, and he just laughed at me and said no judge would give me custody or regular visitation after a decade of no contact just because I suddenly found myself sterile and wanted to appease my wife. He also said I'm not treating him like an actual person, and did I even once stop to consider the fact that he wouldn't even know who I was? I shouldn't have threatened to go for custody, and I admit that. People are acting like I've done the worst thing.
So last night, I met my girlfriend's parents for the first time, and it was the most embarrassing thing ever. So we're having dinner at their house, and it was the first time I met them, and for some reason, I had to fart so badly, like, it hurt I had to fart that badly. I coughed, and by an accident, I farted, and the whole table heard it. Immediately, her parents stared at me, and I was so lucky that my girlfriend's dog, her name is Sophie, was sitting right next to me. So her dad goes, "Sophie," and I thought they thought it was the dog who farted. So 5 minutes later, I fart again. I don't know how, but anyway, I fart, and her dad again goes, "Sophie," and I smile again because, like, oh my God, he thinks it's the dog. I'm so I'm lucky. I lucked out. So towards the end of the night, I sneezed, and by an accident, I let out the largest fart I ever farted in my whole entire life. So then my girlfriend's dad stands up, looks at the dog, and goes, "Sophie, get away from him before he shits on you."
My boyfriend and I went to his sister's wedding last Friday. They've always had a strained relationship, but overall it was a great wedding. We were enjoying the party when my boyfriend goes up to the DJ and asks for the microphone. I thought he was going to do a toast for his sister, but no. He asked me to come up to him and I was terrified. I remember thinking to myself, he is not going to do that. No way. I take a quick glance at the bride and she is furious. He then proceeds to propose to me at his sister's wedding. Everyone was cheering for us, but his sister just looked like she wanted to cry. I didn't know what else to do other than say yes. I was crying, but not happy crying. After that, I went up to his sister and was apologizing over and over. She was livid. I felt so sorry for her. I left early and my boyfriend came back to the hotel room at 2 a.m. hammered. And so I decided to confront him. At first he was like, "Babe, my whole family was there and it was the best time." Until he finally admitted that he did it because his sister had ruined his graduation by announcing her wedding. He used my proposal to get back at his sister. I left the morning after and haven't talked to him since. I don't know what to do. He won't stop calling, but I'm overwhelmed with emotion.